Welcome back, everybody, to Make It Simple TV. Now, this is our TV station for Autopilot Your Business. I'm Heather Porter. I'm a co-founder of Autopilot Your Business, which is a digital and publishing agency. And the other co-host is Andrew McCauley. So before we introduce our amazing guest today, I just want Andrew to jump on and tell us where he is right now.
Hey Heather, it's good to be back on Make It Simple TV. I am currently at the Trump Towers in Vegas, or Trump Hotel and Resort in Vegas. I'm sitting in the lobby here. I'm doing a mastermind session with a group of people up on the very top floor, and they're all breaking into masterminds right now, so I had to excuse myself and find a quiet place. This is the quietest place I could find. So there may be some noise. You may see some people walking past me. Just ignore that. I'll try and mute myself out. But I'm here in Vegas, and it's been pretty cool. I like Vegas. It's always one of those places that you sort of forget the rest of the world's happening when you're here. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm looking forward to today's call because we have a very special guest, as you said.
That we do. Great. So as everybody, all you know, we bring our special inner circle of experts, friends from all over the world to have just a quick chat. And it's our little excuse, because we're so busy with our business, to actually take some time out for about 30 minutes and literally just have a chat with our friends and people that we know to not only extract some good business tips for you, but also just some good life lessons. Because I feel like when you're a successful individual, you have a lot of interesting things to share. So now our guest on the show today is Ludwina Dautovic, and she has spoken on our AYB Fireside Chat stage in Melbourne. She has done a podcast with me, Podcast Like a Pro. She has a huge background starting way back in TV, doing publishing and content, all the way up to modern day, where she just specializes primarily in podcasting, but she has loads of other things that she does. So she has numerous podcast shows, which I'll have her tell you about. She's a brand new podcast show called Switched On, which is fantastic, and I want you guys to check it out. It's made it up in the charts and what's hot in iTunes. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome to the show Ludwina. Welcome. How are you?
I'm really good, Heather. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting.
I'm good, and your sound is just a little bit grainy, so what I'm going to have you do is probably just try and pop off your headsets and see how we go from there. With technology, we do use Google Hangouts. It was just coming in a little grainy. So while she's doing that, let's have a little test again.
Okay. Hang on, I'll just have to test.
Definitely not happy.
To test the sound, then put the. You want me to put the laptop sound on?
Yeah, let's try the laptop sound. So guys,
hello.
So try up in the settings in the top. This is our little test of Google Hangouts. Test our sound, and it inevitably doesn't work when we get on live.
Isn't that always the way? You test it till it's ready, and as soon as you go to live, things are going to happen. But that's just the nature of technology. These things happen. So we deal with it every day. So one of those things. Don't get upset if that happens to you when you're doing this sort of stuff.
I know. We actually did a show with, I remember Dave Diggle, one of our other shows, the same exact thing happened there, which was quite funny. So, well,
okay, how's it sounding now, Heather? Is that better at all?
It's still a little bit grainy, isn't it? So let's see.
Oh, that's a bit strange, because it's a microphone I use for podcasting control, so not quite sure why. Unless you just want me to use the microphone in the laptop.
Let's test that as well. Yeah, let's test that as well.
Right.
So there you go.
All right.
Pull it out. Because you were perfect until we hit go, of course. Good old Google.
Try talking now. Oh.
No, we can't hear you. So go ahead and press your little cog right up at the top, and you can change your microphone in there.
All right. So while we're in for H, give us a rundown. What's happened that's been interesting in your world over the last couple of days that you can share with people while waiting for Ludwina?
You know, I've been dabbling with a couple of pretty big site projects right now. One of them is using BuddyPress, and so that's like a really cool Facebook community that you can use in WordPress. It almost becomes your own, literally your own Facebook inside of your website. been playing around with that and setting up forums, and it's a great little tool. And then on the flip side, you know TED Talks, don't you, Andrew?
I sure do. Yep.
Yeah. So there's actually an interesting little movement starting here in Australia called the Unstoppables, and it's an entrepreneurial community, and it's run by a guy named Julio De Lafitte, who we work with as well, and he started something called East Energy TV, and he does interviews with entrepreneurs, and so that's all launching as well right now, and it's all starting to come together. They're getting some media coverage, so that's what I've been up to this week.
Fantastic.
What about you?
Awesome. Well, let's just Ludwina, are you there? Let's test your sound. Are you there? No, maybe not. Still technical difficulty. So I got up to Vegas yesterday and got here late. So today's been all about masterminding, and what we've been doing basically is going through people's businesses. So they've got an hour, 45 minutes to present what they're doing with their business, and then the rest of the group can offer ideas about how they can improve their business, what sort of things are holding them back, and that sort of thing. So it's been a pretty good, interesting experiment. You know, not just the people that are presenting about their business, but it's also the people that are listening and partaking in the conversations that are also getting some great takeaways as well. So if you've never done a mastermind before, I highly recommend it. I know that there's a number of different groups and organizations that run masterminds. We're going to start one of ours up very soon, so keep your eye out for that too, because masterminding, as I said, can be a super powerful way to really grow your business and take it to the next level. So we're enjoying it here in Vegas. There's about 25 people here, all joined together, come from all over the world. We've got people from Germany, from Italy, from Canada, all over the US are here. So pretty exciting.
Very, very cool.
Okay.
Oh,
hey, how's that sound?
Perfect. You nailed it.
Is that it? Okay. All right. Spare microphone. I don't know what was going on with the other one, but yeah, all good. Thank you, everyone, for patience. It's one thing that can happen occasionally with technology is that it may not work for you, but we're all good now.
So why don't we start out with you letting us know what you are up to these days with your work, with what you're doing professionally.
Well, there's quite a few things going on. It sort of all centres around the podcast show Really Switched On, which is has really opened up a lot of doors for me. So technically I focus on online digital and new media, so I do work with a number of clients within that area to help them to develop broadcast channels, primarily podcast channels, but also to help them to give their brand a global voice. So that's essentially the work that I do in terms of client-based work, but I've just taken on a fantastic new client as well called Spondo, which is an Australian-based company in their video streaming platform, which is just fantastic. So I'm heading up marketing and communications for them, and also running a series of investor presentations coming up in Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney, which is it's really exciting. So I've just got a few really good clients like that I'm working with now, and but the show Switched On has really opened up a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities, and I'm really getting to have some really intentful, thoughtful conversations with global leaders in the areas of online, digital, and new media, and they're generally the people that don't sort of do interviews, so it's really interesting to talk to these people that have got multi-million-dollar companies and they're doing very well in that space, and to sort of really just get that insider info really on what's happening in that area. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
I'm curious as to why you actually went into this area that you're in right now. I mean, I know a little bit about your background, but what specifically drove you into doing the podcasting and now working with Spondo?
Podcasting, I'm actually not surprised that I'm podcasting, to be honest. I remember as a really young girl, I was one of those people that could sort of go up to somebody in a bar and in 5 minutes they'd sort of tell me the whole life story. I've always been a really curious person and really interested in people. And there's been an evolution of me, I guess, as a communicator over the years, back when I was presenting TV, when I was producing television back in the analog days, and that's sort of like 15 or so years ago, and to speaking on stage, to producing and presenting digital content, and it's just sort of, I guess, finding that place that tool or that platform, I guess, that just sort of really resonates with me. So podcasting came along because it had a necessity. I just sort of I was sick for a little while, and I had to figure out a way to keep my business brand alive. And I thought, well, what can I do that doesn't require me to look good, feel good, or go anywhere? And so podcasting was a good option. So I'd sit in bed with my laptop and my headset and interview, people from all around the world, and they were none the wiser. So that's sort of kind of how it started as a necessity, but it really fell into something that I just became so passionate about. I love the form of podcasting, particularly sound, because its file sizes are smaller. People can listen to you when they're doing mundane tasks as opposed to having to concentrate on a video. Plus, you don't there's so much less effort that goes into audio podcasting to produce the content. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I love it. I love talking to people. I'm still really passionate and curious about people. So it's just a natural platform for me, really.
Hey, Ludwina, I've got a question for you. I know a story about, you told me this story before, and going back to talking to anybody and everybody, you told me a little story about when you used to work in the hospitality industry, and to this day there's been no one else like you apparently in this venue that you've talked about. Give us a little background on how you were able to talk to so many people and why you were so popular.
Oh, you know what? You're telling dinner party secrets now. That's naughty.
No, I'm not. No, this is the before 7 o'clock story.
Oh, what's it? The before 7 o'clock story? I worked in a club back in the 80s called the Cauldron in Sydney, and it was a very exclusive private nightclub. And so imagine an 18-year-old version of me today, and I was always very, just as gregarious and outgoing and cheeky back then as I am now. But sort of, really naive, which I think was probably my biggest gift at the time. But this place I worked at used to host all the big celebrities that came into town. So, I'd get put in charge of, seriously, literally put in charge of looking after people like George Michael, Julian Lennon, Mel Gibson, Prince, all these people that, used to come to Australia would come to this private club because it wasn't sort of publicly advertised, and they had, a lot of privacy in there. So that was the start of my gregarious life back then, and I worked at that place for about 5 years, so I had quite an incredible time.
So just on that, I'm not going to ask for any secrets or any stories, but the ability to communicate with people, I mean, this goes on to podcasting too. You can run a podcast show, and I think you've run a few now, where you can talk to people about any topic. How important was that sort of industry? Because I know, I'm only asking because I've come from the same background, wasn't private clubs like you, but I had 17 years in hospitality, and I think for me that was a great breeding ground just to be able to talk to somebody, because I could talk to 1 minute I'd be talking to a group of bikies, the next I'd be talking to a bunch of grandmas playing poker machines. So I had to switch my conversation and my mental conversation, if you like, was when I did that. How important was that for you? Did you learn a lot about communication through that job as well?
That's a really good question, because even to this day, I'm told that, because I can't divulge now, but with some of the work that I'm doing, there's some quite, very globally successful people involved, and one of the things that I'm told is that my ability to have those conversations, it comes from a place of being honest with who I am. I'm the same person I am speaking to you today as I am at home with my kids, and I am if I'm at a public event, or if I'm speaking to somebody who's quote unquote famous or high profile. I'm not easily impressed by people. I just look at them as them being a person, and I'm a hugger, so I'll go up and give a stranger a hug as much as I would anybody, and that's just who I am. And I think that that was what really held me in good stead back in the earlier days when I was in that scene, because I wasn't impressed by them. There was this there was this respect that I had, and it was quite funny, because I used to get people coming to the Cauldron from overseas saying, hey, such and such told me to come here and look you up because you're really cool. And by cool, they mean I've got no photos of these people. You didn't take photos of them. You didn't sort of go running around saying, hey, I'm hanging out with this person or that person. And because that was the case, and they trusted me, and I was real and genuine with them, there was, that relationship was there, and it was often spoken about, for other people to meet me as well. So that's really important. Just you got to, you've got to know your own voice. You've got to find your own voice, and you have to be okay with it. And I think that, I'm 48 this year, and I think that in the last few years I've really, really found my voice in terms of, who I am, what my message, what my story is, and being really comfortable in my own skin in that, and I think that's vital.
A lot of people have challenges actually being vulnerable and sharing who they are, especially online when they're doing their blogging or they're doing podcasts or videos or whatever. What's a piece of advice that you can share with people on really how to find your voice and be able or be comfortable in sharing that with the world?
Whatever it is that you share, just make sure that there's a purpose to it, not just share it for the sake of being vulnerable. Like, I've been very public about my life. Most people listening, know about my journey with cancer a few years ago, and, I was open and honest about that at the time because at the time it was relevant. Now I hardly speak about it anymore because it's not relevant to where I am right now. But, at the time when it was very helpful for a lot of people, and, I guess for people to follow my journey out of that part of my life as well and into this next phase, it's very encouraging for them and inspirational, I'm often told. So, I think at times when the story is relevant or the experience is relevant to share it, I cringe a little bit with how honest people can be sometimes on Facebook. They sort of post their whole life as though nobody else is reading it, and they are. It's just, be mindful. There's been times when I've been really thoughtful about something and I've just had to write about it and share it openly, but at the time it was a right thing at the right time, and I knew that, and it has to have some context and it has to have a framework around it if you're going to share something. So, find out what your voice is, be meaningful about it, be thoughtful about it, and if you're not sure, run it past somebody else before you publicly share it, and then get somebody to read it before you publicly share it again, when it's finished. So that's, when I'm podcasting, I don't have that privilege of, really thinking about it sometimes at the time, like with an interview right now, I'll just sort of, if it feels right, I'll come out and say it. But I think that the more that you get to know yourself, the more you're comfortable with yourself, the more confident you'll be in your voice.
Very cool. So I love this question because this is the one that gives me ideas for what I bring into my collection of useful tools. What is one resource that you simply cannot live without right now?
Oh, I'm so embarrassed to say this because I've only just crossed over. I've crossed over. Andrew, I don't know if you're a Mac boy, but I just bought a MacBook Pro. Oh my God, I can't live without it.
Yeah. It's the only reason we invited you on this podcast, on this TV show, because you bought a Mac. You've switched over.
I'm just so sick of PC. I'm sorry for anyone who's sick of hearing about us Mac lovers, but I cannot do without it. It's a MacBook Pro. It's like 2.5 kilos. I took it to Bali recently, and it was just so lightweight. It wasn't getting a sore shoulder from carrying such a heavy piece. And oh my God, it just works like a dream. There's no viruses. It doesn't crash. It's just it's delightful. So sorry, it's my MacBook Pro.
What's a program or an app that you use a lot to create what you do?
Well, I have to brag about a new app, and it's actually my episode this week on Switched On. It's called Voicebite. So it's word voice and bite, B-Y-T-E, and I got the scoop interview on it, so I'm really excited about that. It's just been released. It's already hit the charts on iTunes in the App Store. It's created by a guy called Michael Fennick and his brother Stephen Fennick, who is he's big in the tech world. And Voicebite is an app that excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. It's an app that allows you to combine voice, text, image, and links in the one social post, and it's absolutely fantastic. Use it on your computer or your iPhone. They're about to get the Android version, I think, but that is one that is going to be a regular, consistent a tool that I'm going to be using to promote my shows and promote the other media that I'm creating. It's absolutely fantastic. Voicebite, I predict that this is going to be the next big social media app. There you go, you heard it from me.
Okay, hold on, I'm going to go get it right now.
Hey, so Ludwina, what would be 3 simple tips that you know from your expertise that you could share with our listeners, whether it's life or business, what would be 3 tips that you could share?
Well, the first one is the don't wait for perfection. It's an unattainable goal. It's a ridiculous concept. It's something that just cannot be achieved. If you're thinking about, following in, my steps, your steps in terms of Google Plus or Google Hangouts or podcasting, don't wait until you think that you've got it all together. You have to start at some point, but don't just be sort of flippant about it either. Do your research, do your homework. When you think that you've got enough to get started, get started. And when I go back and listen to the first episode of anything that I do, it's like, oh gosh, because things improve and you move into the groove of what it's going to be as you develop. Your technology gets better. Your confidence increases, and you've got to start at one point. So that's the first one. Don't wait until something is perfect. The second one, find out what your work groove is. I'm a night owl, so the fact that you actually got me up at 7 o'clock this morning and I did my hair and my makeup and I'm right here is a miracle. I would never do it for anyone other than Heather Porter. Trust me, Heather, this one's just for you. I'm a night owl, so I don't go to sleep till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't get up until about 10 a.m. most days, 9 or 10. And that's just my natural groove. And I used to feel guilty. And you see all these entrepreneurs saying, you've got to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. It's the best time of the day. And I was like, nah, it's not happening for me. So that's the one I'd say. Just find out what your groove is. And I interview best between 1 and 4 in the afternoon, and I know that. And, it's just find out what that is and make it work for you. That would be my second tip. And my third one is to make sure that you have an absolutely no have to one day a week. Like one day has been no have to's. Computers off. My favourite thing to do is to get my best friend over on a Sunday afternoon and we watch Game of Thrones. We have Game of Thrones marathons, or depend on what our favourite show is at the time. But it's just a complete shutdown. So everything has to be switched off. It's got to have a mental health day, I call it. Particularly when you work for yourself, it can be really easy to just jump on that computer and get started at it. So I'd have to say they're my 3.
Awesome. I love those ones. I love the first one you said. One of my favorite sayings is version 1 is better than version none. So get out there, get started with something. Don't wait for that perfection, because it just doesn't come, especially when it's this day and age when there's so many. You want to get things out there as quick as you can. So love those. So what would be one thing that most people don't know about you? Here's where the secrets come in. Here we go.
Well, I kind of just announced it before. I'm such a Game of Thrones fan. Like, I'm really, really loving it. I love I love sort of like the old, the shows made in that time, like Camelot. There's Vikings at the moment too. It's a fantastic show. So I'm a real massive Hulu fan. And as I said, Sunday afternoon with my bestie, we sort of sit around and make some nice food, drink some nice wine, and sit there for about 3 or 4 hours and watch online TV. So most people probably wouldn't know that about me, but yeah, I love all those shows, mate. That medieval, time. So it's my kind of favourite thing to do to chill out.
I keep forgetting the name of it, so I just call it Dothraki now. I just say when I watch Dothraki, I know exactly what I'm talking about.
I love trivia.
Is that an inside Game of Thrones joke?
Yeah, well, look, I'm actually impressed that he knows even one of the names of the characters, because I just my girlfriend Sharon.
They're hard, aren't they?
Oh, they're so hard, but I love the Targaryen. The woman who's leading the one with the dragons. Oh, she is so fantastic. She's just like, yeah, she's got to. Don't tell me anything if you know about Game of Thrones, because I haven't read the books, but I think if she could just rule all of the thrones, I'd be so happy if it ended that way.
That's one of those shows I haven't yet watched, and I'm feeling like I need to check it out because everyone around me keeps talking about it.
Yes, and I heard some insider information that they have that they are definitely doing a 5th and 6th series of it. Yes.
Oh my!
Your Sundays are booked forever from now.
I think so.
Ludwina, what's a mantra of yours? Something that really guides you when it gets dark and rough in your life?
Look, the thing I've got an incredible friend. His name's Chris Adams, and he's the CEO of Spondo, and because of the journey that I've gone with him. I've had the opportunity to have lots of conversations, with him, and I would say that he's a mentor of mine now. And one of the things he taught me, it's a mantra of his, and it's just say yes, and figure it out later, And sometimes you may not feel like saying yes at the time, but you just say yes, and then once I've said yes and I make a decision about something, then it's almost like you reverse engineer the outcome that you want. I don't procrastinate. I'm not okay with okay. I don't sit on the fence with anything. If I haven't got a yes or no answer for you, I'll think about it and then come back to you, and you'll always know without a doubt that if my yes is yes, then it's a yes. It's never a maybe. It's never a half-assed, approach or attitude. It's yes, and it's 100% yes. And sometimes at those moments when you don't feel, well, can't I do it? I just say yes. Yep. Okay. All right. Yep. And then it's like, okay, well, now I have to figure out how. And there's always a way to figure out how. And I'm not just saying say yes to everything that comes your way, but sometimes you've just got to say yes, particularly if it's a that's going to challenge you. It's at a point in your life where you need to push through to the next level. So just say yes to life. Just say yes.
Nice. So here's a deeper question for you.
Ooh.
What do you, Ludwina, want to be known for?
Really curious person. I want to be known as a great interviewer. Really, I've always just a great interviewer, just a really good listener and a great interviewer. And I would like one day to be spoken of in terms of my ability to interview people, along the same vein as Oprah. She's always been a role model to me for various different reasons in my life. And I remember when I was about 30, back when I was producing TV, God, that was so long ago, I remember, just saying, okay, Oprah was my, who I wanted to be like. And I used to have this mantra saying, what would Oprah do? What would Oprah do? And I'd follow that. And I really believe that, my style has become very much that. She's very authentic, open, raw, and but also very intelligent. And that's a blend that I want to have. So, I'd like to be known for somebody who was really curious about people, really interested in people, and interviewed really well. I'd like that.
Very nice.
Very cool.
And Andrew, I'll let you jump in a second. I just wanted to say one thing that one thing I really respect you for, because we have done some podcasting together, and we've hung out, and you've cooked us a beautiful meal, both for Andrew and I. But you are a very inquisitive person, but you really are who you are wherever you see you, whether it's on stage, whether it's just having a chat right here. And I respect that a great deal in you, because I found that over the years working with lots of speakers and people that are sort of personalities, that a lot of times the person on the stage is so incredibly opposite of the person off the stage. So one thing about you that I know that you are already known for is that honesty, and really you are who you are. You take it or leave it. You are Ludwina, which is great.
That's right. Ludwina is Ludwina. That's how it is. Hey,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Before we wrap up, what is one major life lesson, and I know you've already had a few, but what's one major life lesson you've learned that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, wow, one major life lesson. Just let yourself be who you need to be in the moment that you're having it. As I mentioned before, the journey that I had when I was sick a few years ago, I remembered, there were times, there's lots of major surgeries and stuff that was happening, and, I'd feel like, I'd be feeling great, starting to feel like I'm getting above it, and then bam, something else had happened, and I have to have another operation or something like that, and I just remembered at the time feeling like, okay, I'm going to give myself a month to feel like crap, and I'm just going to sit with it. And then on Saturday, whatever date it is in a month, I get up out of bed, or I get up and get back into life, whatever, regardless of how I'm feeling. So I give myself permission to feel and be in the moment that I was, and then when that date comes, then I'd have to, get out of it. And I remember it was I don't know how I came up with that idea, but it was just something that really helped me move through that, but also allowed me to not feel guilty or feel, bad for resting when I needed to rest. And I apply that to a lot of things in my life now. There's sorry about that. There are seasons. Life has seasons. I think this is the story around it. life has seasons. There's summer, autumn, winter, and spring, and each of those seasons have a reason or something that happens in that time. And, you know, sometimes it's winter, and there's ways that you need to be when it's winter. But eventually they'll become spring, and then you can spring into that part or that season of your life. It's the same for, you know, when women are having children, when their kids are little. It's a season, it's a moment, it's a time. Allow yourself to enjoy that. And then, you know, gosh, my son's left home and my daughter's about to leave home. You know, that time goes very quickly, and enjoy it for what it is, and then move into the next season after that. You know, when death comes into your life, or you know, allow yourself to feel what you need to feel at that time, and then when that grieving time's over, then move into the next stage. So, you know, I see a lot of people that carry on a lot of stuff in their life because they just keep continually carrying it. There's a really great movie called E-Motion, E-Motion on Facebook. Go there, you can see it there, and it's just, there's a lot of really great you know, pointers in there that, you know, talks about this. And I just think that if we can allow the season to occur when it's happening and then move out of it when it's no longer there, then you find yourself a lot freer in life. I hope that made sense.
Absolutely makes sense. So if people want to know more about you and where to hang out with you online, where would you like them to go?
Well, Ludwina.com, that's Ludwina.com, and also the podcast show switched on iTunes.com, and that'll take you straight to the iTunes channel.
Very, very cool. Andrew, any closing words before we wrap it up?
Firstly, how did you get Ludwina.com? That is a pretty awesome URL.
I know.
Did you pay an absolute fortune for that, or did you get it a long time ago?
Well, growing up in a little country town, half Indian kid, like we were the only chocolate bars in town, and I had the name Ludwina, go figure. I hated it growing up, but now it's like, hail mother, thank you so much. And I just researched it one day. I bought it about 5 or 6 years ago. I just thought, damn, I'm buying that. So it just pot luck. There's not that many Ludwinas in the world. I haven't met one yet, so there we go.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for joining us. It really was a pleasure. And as Heather said, you know, Ludwina is Ludwina. We're lucky enough to have a dinner cooked by her, a fantastic dinner. And she was speaking at our event during the day, and she was exactly the same as she was at home. There's no two different personalities at all. So it's great being on our show. Thank you for being on our show. We really appreciate you getting up at this time of day, even though it's ridiculous for some of us. And we really appreciate you sharing the insights that you have shared with us.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And, you know, if anybody wants to pick up the phone and call me, I'm at the other end as well. So, you know, it's just me. So give us a bell.
We love you, Ludwina. And Andrew, have fun with your mastermind sessions there in Las Vegas. Behave yourself.
Always behave.
Guys, we would love for you to come on over to makeitsimple.tv, where we have more conversations with our fabulous interviewees, and we share lots of cool resources. So all the links that Ludwina has shared with you, including this Facebook movie that I'm going to be checking out, we'll have those links there under this show. So thanks again for joining us, and thanks again, Ludwina and Andrew, and we will be back in the next episode next week. Talk to you soon.
Bye.